get started. Carol, I'll remember to keep the microphone up close. We're privileged to have, well, let's do announcements, particularly since everybody's thinking about the Round Rock Arts show at Jester Center. We have made an executive decision to keep the show open, or the submissions open, for another week. So tonight that'll get enabled, so if you want to make changes to the images that you have in there, you can. If you're a new member in the club, raise your hand. You can,
now you have a chance.
Now you can go ahead and submit some images.
Is there any certain subject matter that you want?
Wide open.
Okay.
It just has to be appropriate for the courthouse. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has to be photography. Well, yeah.
Merlin, you got two bits you want to put in?
Right.
Okay, so the instructions are on the website. Now, when I was telling you back in April that October is coming really, really fast, well, next week is coming even faster. So if you want to make changes, you have to do that like right away. But you got one more week, and then we'll start making decisions.
Clay, do we have anything from you?
No, except I'd like to recognize Jolynn as a recent member.
Welcome, Jolene.
Hi, Jolene.
Okay, so, no, we're fine.
All right. We have Ruben, and I've forgotten your last name.
Cruz.
Cruz. I talk to Ruben on a regular basis
Oh, my
anytime
goodness.
Precision has a show. I've bought a lot of his gear.
That's right. That's right.
But Ruben is a trained photographer, has been working for Westcott 15 years, and has taught a lot of us a lot about lighting. So I'm going to let Ruben run this show.
All right. Thank you so much, Bill. Am I live here? Yes. Okay, excellent. Hey, everybody. Yeah, so like Bill said, Ruben Cruz with the FJ Westcott Company. By the way, thank you for letting me come casual today. So Bill introduced me to Patrick, and then Patrick and I got into a conversation about coming out and doing some sort of a program for you folks on any particular topic regarding lighting. Now, I'm always talking about strobe lighting because it's one of the more advanced topics. That's not what I'm doing here today. I talked to him about doing a presentation on modifiers. It's something that I like to talk about, but I almost never get enough time to talk about this particular subject. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Modifiers, of course, I work for the FJ Westcott Company, so all the gear I have is FJ Westcott. But a lot of the talking points that I have will apply to just about anything in the world of modifiers. So just keep that in mind. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for you. I brought modifiers with a couple of continuous lights. I prefer to do things in a live demo, so by all means, ask any questions at any time. I'll give you a little bit of history if you don't know who Westcott is. It's a very small American company that's been in business since 1899 in the Toledo, Ohio area. My job for them is multifold, but probably the biggest thing I do is education within the central United States. And when I say the central United States, it's kind of like more than a third wide. I go from Texas through Ohio, up through Michigan, out through Nebraska, and all the way back down. So I spend a lot of time on the road. I do mostly trainings of our resellers, so camera stores like Precision Camera. You know, when those guys are there and you come in and you say, I'm looking at such and such, it's my job to teach them about the products that we sell, where they fit in the marketplace, so on and so forth. Comparative analysis among competitors and things of that nature. So that's kind of what I do. So. The world of modifiers is really huge. It's gotten bigger, and it's a particular area that we have a lot of products in. I did not bring everything, but to give you an idea, I have a 40-inch SKB case, a 50-inch think tank roller, 2 carrying bags, and a backpack, and I approximately brought about a third of the modifiers that we actually offer. So,
Where's your car to haul all this?
yeah, it's in the parking lot. It's in the parking lot. So, and then just so you know, I brought continuous lights so I can just kind of show you the product itself. We won't be using any strobes to demonstrate this. So I have a 60 watt and a 120 watt LED chip on board that'll allow you to see the throw of certain modifiers, okay? So let's just talk about a very simple, yes?
Westcott get started in the modifier business?
How do we get started in the modifier business? In 1899, the company opened up as a luxury umbrella company. So they started making luxury umbrellas. Those umbrellas eventually blossomed into another category of golf umbrellas, because at one point in time, you guys remember Byron Nelson, Texas PGA Tour? He joined the board of directors at Westcott and said, hey, you guys are missing a market. You guys make umbrellas. There's a need for golf umbrellas, and we started making golf umbrellas. And then at some point in time, one of the founding members of the company said, let's start making umbrellas for the photographic industry. And it was at that point in time that they kind of created a separate company. So the original company was called Haas Jordan, which still exists in Ohio. And then they created the F.J. Westcott company. FJ stands for Frank James. Frank James Westcott is one of the original founders of the company. So they created that second.
Do you always put the initials in front, or can you get away with Westcott?
Yeah, I mean, the company sometimes just puts Westcott.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, so I say the F.J. Westcott company because I've been saying it that way for 15 years, but yeah, the company's kind of just gone into Westcott. If you guys are familiar with our strobe system, it's called the FJ wireless system. Now you know where the FJ comes from, Frank James Westcott. So there's an entire history on our website if you're interested in getting into the details of the development of the company and what they did. But once they entered into the market for photographic umbrellas, then it just kind of mushroomed from there. Started making soft boxes, then they started making continuous lights and so on and so forth. And there's been quite a lot of innovations through the years that they came up with that you can actually see on the website. You can just click on our history if you're on the westcott.com website. So, yeah. Okay, so what I brought a bunch of hard reflectors. I bought several umbrellas, several soft boxes, some fast flags, and I'm going to talk to you about all of these kinds of products. So hard reflectors, everybody's seen them. If you've ever bought a light, hard reflector typically comes with them. This is a modifier. It allows for the projection of light. If you don't have it on, obviously, then you've got light being thrown everywhere, right? Did I just get you in the eyes back there? So reflectors focus the light so that you can get a sharper beam. A piece of information that's good to know, oftentimes when people are comparing specifications between one lighting company and another, they're looking at the output of power. The output of power for continuous lights is measured in lumens, and it's always measured with a reflector on. And so this is an important distinction to understand, because oftentimes, unless you're using this, the lumens is completely different without this on, right? So you'll see those numbers and you'll be like, wow, that's pretty impressive. That allows you to focus that light. It's a very harsh light, and there are certain times and applications in which you may want to just use a reflector. If you're looking for a very hard light look, very dramatic, this is typically good for doing things in a black and white mode, particularly portraits. If you want a very harsh look to it, understand that you're going to get very hard shadows with it, right? And of course, there are different sizes, different beam angles in which you can get. So that standard 5-inch on this little 60 watt throws the light and gives you about 36,000 lumens. But then if you were to come and do something like this, whoops. What's that?
Gravity is persistent.
Oh yeah, that's right. All aluminum. You know, this is a 70-degree throw. That big boy over there is a 45-degree throw. So really, depending on your application, you can change the throw of the light. Another thing that you can do is you can add these honeycomb grids. So here's a spill of light. So let's do this. I'm going to switch this guy on and shut this one off so I can swap out this reflector. So a 5-inch beam. Swap this guy out, and you can see the throw change. This one's a 70 degree, so now you can see where the light ends, right? As opposed to a 55, a little bit more narrow. But the point of the honeycomb grids is to narrow the beam even further. So if you're looking at this light, and I put this guy in, and this is a 60, so this by itself is 70. If I put this guy on now, it's 60. I've narrowed the beam even more. Well, a lot of these come with these honeycomb grids, and they're labeled on the outside. I'm just going to pass that around so you guys can see. This one, this guy here is a 30-degree throw. And now you can see that the throw on that light is even tighter. Right. And they're labeled on the outside so that you can actually see. And so that's what the honeycomb grid does, is it reduces the beam angle of the light. Yes?
So can you tell us if it's more economical to have a kit and buy everything, and you may not need some of them, or you should buy a small kit and then add what you need?
You mean with regards to a lighting system, or regarding to these particular hard reflectors? Mm-hmm. Within our family of products, we don't sell kits of hard reflectors. You will get the honeycomb grids, though, with it. So if you were to get this 70 degree, it comes with the two that are being passed around right now. With the 55-inch reflector, it comes with 4. There's a 10, a 20, a 30, and a 40. So it automatically comes with it. But you wouldn't be buying like this, and it comes with this one, and so on and so forth.
I guess, just to clarify,
Yeah.
if I was like, okay, I want to get into this lights and modification, all that. I could buy that, and I get X number of honeycombs with it. Mm-hmm. And will they be able to do similar, not the same, but similar to what a smaller modifier would do? Is that?
Well, this is just one particular type of modifier, the hard reflectors. You can just hit those honeycomb grids there.
Might need to repeat this.
Okay.
Not hear me?
Well, we were talking in the mic.
You want me to bring that closer to him? You're like in a Senate hearing now.
On the advice of my lawyers. So my question, I'm just trying to understand, if I have a modifier with a series of honeycombs, does that mean that I can do similar to what I could do with another modifier? In other words, I can narrow the beam of light.
Sure.
So if I don't have like a small one like that,
Right.
I have an appropriate honeycomb, I can get the same effect. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's different. So the answer is that it depends, right? So this is a 55 degree. That tells you the beam angle. And then, of course, these varying honeycombs reduces that. So by itself, that's 55 degree beam. But if I were to throw this 40 degree on, now it becomes a 40. And then a 30, and then a 20, and then a 10, right? So
just to clarify, that small one you have there is what size?
this one's a 55 degree as well.
Right.
So if I had the larger one, I could put a 55-degree angle honeycomb on it. And
Yes.
get the effect, similar effect to this one.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
You're gonna have a room full of camera photos.
Yes.
So I have a question about colors. Can you use the honeycombs with the colors?
Say that one more time, because I don't think that mic is live.
Can you use the honeycombs with the colored gels?
Yes, you can actually. That's a good question. So with that very one that's up there, that's 70 degree. So let's just continue on with modifiers on the same subject. I'm going to get to your, that 70 degree, you can either use honeycombs to reduce the spill, or another way of reducing the spill is using something called barn doors. Everybody's seen barn doors before. This is nothing new. This just happens to be one that we make for that 70 degree. And once it's on, you can also use it with colored gels. So this is a kit that's sold separately. You buy the 70 degree, it comes with 2 honeycomb grids, but if you wanted to use it with gels, then we sell this kit, and that allows you to just put in these different colored gels to change the color of the light, right? That's all it's doing.
But essentially, she could use those gels with the honeycomb grids as
You
well.
certainly can. You certainly can. You can combine the honeycomb grids with the colors. Gaffer's tape is a wonderful thing, yes.
So kind of your question,
Yes.
if you take the 75 degree and you put a 55 degree honeycomb on it, it makes it like a 55 degree.
Right.
Yeah, so it narrows it down.
Right, the reduction of the,
But if you were to put the reflector on it, it makes the light brighter, whereas if you put the grid on it, it kind of seems to make it dimmer.
so that's a good point, and I'm glad that you pointed that out, and I'll do that again so that you could see. One of the things that honeycomb grids will do, not only will they reduce the spill, but you're physically putting a lot of stuff in front of the light. So while it's nice and bright like that, as soon as I put this 60 degree on, you'll see that it reduces not just the spill, but the output of light as well. So oftentimes what you're going to have to do is increase the power output in order to get back to that original. So yes, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I mean, that's always the case with anything. Anytime you put something in front of your light, you're going to reduce the amount of light output. So you need to make a compensation. I use a light meter. I went to school using a light meter. I still use a light meter. I know that they've kind of fallen in popularity, mainly because of digital cameras. People look in the back. I still use a light meter, and it's the most accurate way. So I would meter the light after I put the honeycomb grid on to make sure that I'm getting the proper exposure. Staying in that same family of products, there are also things called snoots. And a snoot is simply a very narrow beam. So let's put this on this little guy here. Snoots are good for putting a spotlight on something. Let's kill this guy. So if you want to put a little bit of a spot on something, that's what the snoot is for. The snoot that we sell also comes with an additional honeycomb grid, so if you wanted to further reduce that spill, you could, and get a smaller spot. This is also, most reflectors, hard reflectors, are going to give you hard light. So if you want to get into things like Hollywood lighting, which actually I did just last week at Precision, was it last week? I'm losing track of time, Bill. A week or two ago, me and the Nikon rep, Terrence Campbell, if you guys know him, we put on a lighting symposium called Lenses and Lights, and we created 2 different shooting bays, and one of them was with hard reflectors, continuous lights, honeycomb grids, and created a very nice look of Hollywood lighting. Shot it all monochromatic.
Old Hollywood.
Huh?
Old Hollywood.
Old
right?
Hollywood, yeah. Very classic. You know, it's typically like a 3-point light. So you got a key light. We used actually the 70 degree with the honeycomb grid, the 60 degree honeycomb grid as our key light, our main light on the subject. Then we had a small snoot on the background raking across, kind of creating this kind of funnel light on the backdrop. And then another hair light with another snoot directly onto the hair. And then to show, because that's going to be a high contrast, we actually introduced a small softbox, a little 1x2 softbox, and I'll show that to you here in a little bit, as a fill light, so that the areas that were in shadow were not completely washed out, that there was some detail there.
You have them standing or sitting?
We had them sitting. We had them sitting, because we kind of had them kind of leaning forward, the way, you know, actors and actresses were at one point photographed. So that's the snoot. That's the snoot. I'll pass that around again. It's a pretty simple device. These are, you know, single billets of aluminum, so they're pretty inexpensive. They range anywhere between $19 and $40 to $50. So they're pretty affordable and pretty easy. The big boy, this throws a 45 degree spot. This is actually used often. Am I moving around too much for you, Pete? Ed, excuse me? All right. This is often used by sport photographers. So you'll see this in conjunction with strobes outside, where a photographer is taking pictures of action. You know, whether it's a tennis player, you know, serving a ball, or whether it's an athlete jumping across something, they use this particular, because it's a long throw. The longer the throw becomes, the more you increase the output of light, because it's not spreading this way, it's being directed forward.
Okay.
So
So
you'll
they use that in connection with strobe for the movement?
Yep. Very popular. Anybody doing kind of portraits? Athletes, you know, where they're jumping to catch a football or something like that, or maybe they're swinging at a baseball or something like that. Oftentimes they're using this for that action. So this guy also comes with a variety of honeycomb grids as well to narrow the beam. And it also comes with the affectionately, I'm sorry, that probably sounded weird, the affectionately known shower cap to diffuse the light, right? Because the light by itself, all lights, whether you're using a continuous light or whether you're using a strobe, light in itself is very harsh and can also create a lot of highlights. So if you want to reduce those highlights, a diffusion fabric is what you would use to soften that. So this little guy just simply goes right over. And let's put that on here so you guys can see. So there's your 45, right? And then we'll add the little, and now you see that hard light, that hard ring is kind of gone, right? Here, I'll show it again. So that's what that helps do. Again, these are pretty inexpensive products. Nice to have if you like doing hard lighting of portraits. That's kind of what you're going to be doing, is using those kinds of reflectors to get that hard look, you know. So, any more questions on that? That's the most basic thing. And all lights come with a reflector, right? This is the guy that comes on here, but then you can add obviously other ones depending on what you're doing. So that's the most basic category. The next category would be umbrellas. Umbrellas are probably the most sold. They're pretty versatile, and they're very affordable. So it's very simple to grab for when you're looking to modify light. This is just a little 24-inch. I brought a small one, but we've got lots of different sizes. You can get them where you're bouncing light, and that is that the light is bouncing into it. Change that. Okay. I'm going to take that down just a little bit. So if it's got a black backing, you're bouncing light. But you can also have it so that these black covers are removed. So that you can shoot through. And in this case, you would then turn the light this way. I'm going to point it down a little bit so it's facing me. Couple of things you should know. If you're bouncing light, you're losing a little bit more light because the light is going into your modifier and then bouncing off to your subject. So you're going to lose a little bit more light as opposed to shooting through, right? Typically speaking, depending on the modifier, depending on the light, you typically lose about 1.5 stops to 1 3/4 stops of light when you're bouncing. Now, bouncing is indirect. So the nice thing about bouncing light is you're not going to get the specular highlights that Bill was dealing with taking pictures of candies recently. So that's bouncing light is a little bit softer if you're concerned about that. If you're taking photographs of things that have high sheen to them, if somebody's got a sequence dress on, you know what I mean? This kind of thing. It seems to be a popular thing for young teenage girls to wear makeup that has glitter in it. Have you seen this? Bit of a nightmare, actually, to be honest with you. It's cool looking, but it could be a problem sometimes taking pictures because then you got all these little highlights, you know. Shoot. What's that? There's an app. Of course there is. That's the beauty of digital, right? Is you can go in there, and now we've got AI, right? So you can probably just, you know, generative AI, all the dots out. But it's also very nice to be able to make sure that when you're shooting it, you know, you avoid these things so that you're doing less work. Shooting through, of course, you're going to lose less light. Now, most of the diffusion fabrics on the marketplace, and this is not something that is strictly about Westcott products, but most of the diffusion fabrics on the marketplace are a one-stop fabric, which means you lose 1 stop of light. So shooting through this fabric is going to be a little softer, right? And I'm only going to lose 1 stop of light as opposed to bouncing with the black background. You got a question, I see it.
Doesn't it also, like when you're bouncing the light, if it's silver or white on the inside of the umbrella?
That's correct. So right now you're looking at what we call optical white satin. It's a softer white, but we also make umbrellas with silver interiors as well. And silver is going to give you a little bit more output. It's going to increase the output of your light. It's going to give you a higher contrast, and it's going to give you more specular highlights. So. And you know, people are often asking me, what should I get? I'm like, depends on what you want. What's the look you want? You want a little softer contrast? Get white, yeah, get white if you want a softer contrast. You know, but, yeah, and you've got to make adjustments in your digital camera, but most digital cameras out of the box are already pretty high in contrast. It's just the way the manufacturers have made them. So, of course, you can make those adjustments and lower the contrast. So, I tend to go for white over silver when I'm shooting on a small modifier. Because the other thing that you have to remember, and we're going to get really into the weeds on this one, is that the size of your modifier has a direct effect on how hard and how soft the light is, right? This is a pretty small 24-inch umbrella, so it's a very small source of light. As is the source of the light here, it's a chip-on-board LED that measures maybe about 2 inches around. So the source of the light's small. So it's going to give me automatically a harder light. So if I want to soften it, I'm going to use a larger modifier, right? Because the larger the modifier, the softer the light. It's why I was saying when you get into these types of modifiers already, quite naturally, it's a hard light because they're very small modifiers. But the umbrella is an easy thing to grab for. One of the things about umbrellas you have to remember is that they have a wide angle of throw. And this is an important factor because if you're looking for more control over the direction of light, an umbrella is not necessarily the thing to grab for. It's good at spreading the light out pretty wide. Most of the umbrellas on the market, if they're normal umbrellas, spread the light at about 140 degrees. So that's a pretty wide spread. Yeah, so this is a small one, right? This is a very small umbrella. The umbrellas that we manufacture use fiberglass rods. When I first started with the company, they were all aluminum ribs. Everybody used aluminum. That was just the industry standard. But of course, aluminum, the problem with that is the thing falls down, now it's dog-eared, you know. Whereas with these, they kind of bend, so.
So your biggest umbrella is a 7 foot?
Yeah, well, since you said it, I might as well show it. Yeah, so then you go right back to this guy. And now you're looking at a much bigger source of light, right?
So if you were using that one, you would be more or less doing a full body shot of someone?
Oh, I could do a full body shot with a smaller umbrella. I mean, this is a really nice big source of light. So the point of the big source is that it's going to give you soft wraparound lighting. So I could take, if I carefully composed everybody here, I could easily light this entire group with this one modifier.
That's silver in the set?
Yep, so this is our 7-foot umbrella. It's a soft silver. It's not quite the same silver you're going to see, and I'll compare this to the ones of the silver lining on the inside, what we refer to as the laminate. On the soft boxes, those are a little bit higher in sheen. This one's a little bit softer. But this umbrella comes with a white interior if you choose, a silver interior to choose, or similar to that white, a shoot-through. Yes,
They
Robert?
come with a diffuser as well?
Yeah, I'll show you right now. Yes,
You said that's a 7-foot umbrella?
that's a 7-foot umbrella.
Okay, so it's not 7 feet in diameter, so what is the 7 feet in measure?
That's a good, thank you for saying that. All of our umbrellas are measured across the circumference of the back. It's still a little short of 7 foot though. And again,
Big umbrella.
yeah. Yes, we make diffusions for a lot of our umbrellas, not all of them. But we do make one for this guy. And so, essentially, again, when you're adding another layer of diffusion to something, you're simply softening it, right? You're eliminating a hot spot, right? So that's kind of the thing. And you know, it has an opening, and that opening allows you to be able to actually have the lighting fixture come through the unit with a little cinch, right? Yeah. So. Sorry, guys. A little slippery floor. Let's do this again. Usually the cinches. And so then this can go on your light fixture. You guys see what I did there? We're very good at education at our company, so we've got a video that does that, that shows you how to do that. So if you're like, hey, how did you get that on? We've got a video for it.
So YouTube loves you?
What's that?
YouTube loves you?
YouTube does love us, yeah. So the thing about these diffusions on these umbrellas is that you get a nice soft fall of light. And so if you're looking at my face, you can see how soft the light is, right? Because it's a large source, right? Just think about it. It's just the reason a large source of light is softer is because it is flooding every little crevice with as much light as possible.
And the closer it is to you, the softer, the further away it's.
That's correct.
harsher.
And that's an important distinction too, right? Because you could have this big source of light soft, but then Verlin all the way over there doesn't look as soft as you do, right? Because the further that is away from your subject, the harsher the light becomes because it's getting smaller, right? It's the laws of physics. It's physically moving away, it's physically getting smaller, which means that it's throwing a little bit less light, not filling up that space. So it's quite naturally. So yes, larger modifiers are going to produce softer, but the distance to the subject also has an effect on that. So I could take that little tiny one that we just had and put it real close to my face and make it look almost exactly like this.
What's the difference between that and a beauty dish?
We'll get to that in a second. I'm going to answer your question when we get to the soft boxes.
Okay.
At one point in time, we used to make soft boxes that were rod-based soft boxes. You guys remember rod-based soft boxes? Rod-based soft boxes is simply, there were 4 rods in most soft boxes. Some had 6, some had 8, some had 16, but they were just metal rods that went into a speed ring. And then that speed ring was a specific lighting fixture connection that would go directly to a light fixture. And this was the industry standard for years until we came out with the Rapid Box.
You could also use that umbrella with flash.
Of course. You could use it with any source of light, continuous or flash.
Would you need 2 flashes in that to light that up?
Depends on the size of this.
More powerful?
Depends on the size of the flash. Yeah. Anyway, my point was that we used to have something called a 5-foot and a 7-foot octabank. These were very expensive soft boxes, $600 and $800 respectively. When we launched this 7-foot umbrella for $99 and this 26 diffusion fabric, our sales on that product took a nosedive because you could essentially get the same look and feel of a 5-foot and 7-foot octabank, so long as your light was powerful enough, with $130 worth of modifier. The trick is this. With the softbox, you had the light shooting through, and we're going to show you that. The light is coming through the softbox, whereas this, you're bouncing. And because we talked about that earlier, when you put light fixtures into an umbrella and you're bouncing it, you're reducing the output. So you needed to increase the output of power when you were doing a bounce. So, but that's the 7-footer with the diffusion fabric.
What's your preferred working distance to a subject?
If I'm, you want to ask that question?
I was just going to repeat it.
Yeah.
Preferred working distance to a subject with that big umbrella.
Yeah, as close as possible out of the frame. The closer, the better. So long as it's just out of frame, that's as close as I want to get it. I like soft portraits, you know. I'm not really big into hard unless I'm looking for that specific look, right? If I'm doing something hard, I want it to look hard. I like the softer look. I think most people find it pleasing. If you intend on doing this for a living, most people want to be happy with the pictures that they have of themselves, right? No one's going to make a living off of buying portraits they don't like the way they look. And most people look good in the soft lighting. So as close as possible.
Most women.
Most women, most men too, actually. Don't let them fool you.
I like to shoot guys like
So, I mean, those umbrellas I showed you pretty much have a standard depth to them. Then you get into these more specialized umbrellas. This is a deep umbrella, and that simply means that it's a deeper umbrella. So you can kind of physically see that there's a little bit more of a parabolic look to it. It's not parabolic. This is important distinction. I do not have a parabolic product to show you. We used to have something called a Zeppelin in our line. It looked like the Zeppelin. It wasn't like a true parabola in terms of its shape, but it was very close to it. That's a very specific modifier. People who use parabolic modifiers absolutely love them because they're very versatile. You almost have 3 different types of modifier in one. They're not cheap by any stretch. We probably sold the least expensive parabolic on the market. 3 different sizes, a 35-inch, a 47-inch, and a 59-inch. and the 35-inch sold for $500, to give you an idea. This is 112. So, deep umbrellas give you a little bit more directional control. Remember I was saying earlier that most of the umbrellas are about 140-degree spread. This one's about 128-degree spread. So you have a little bit more control. Because it is deeper, you can slide the light fixture back and forth on it. But before I do that, I want to show you something. The biggest problem with most of the reflectors that come on the marketplace, when you buy a light fixture, almost no matter what the light fixture company is that these reflectors are designed to throw the light further, increasing the power output. But the problem is, if you try to use them in conjunction with umbrellas, and you can see very clearly here, I'm going to step away, I don't know, you know, is that probably too high? The reflector right now is ending where the umbrella is beginning. And that's kind of where you normally would put if you want to spread the light out entirely in the umbrella. Can you see that that's not happening here? You see that the light pretty much stops there? It's almost a waste of money. I could have bought a 24-inch umbrella if I was going to use that. But if I don't use this, then there's a lot of light coming this way as well, right? So when you're using umbrellas, you want to be able to have a smaller reflector so that it does not limit the spread of light within the umbrella itself. The strobe system that we make are 55-degree, let me see, where is it here? Do I have it here? Where did I sit that little guy down? This is not the one. All right, maybe I didn't bring it. The 55-degree that comes with our strobe sits about that deep. A lot of times people are like, why is it so shallow? Why is it, everybody else's is longer? Because we designed it so that if you're using it with an umbrella, it's going to kill the spill without having to lose this kind of coverage on an umbrella. So keep that in mind when you're using a light with an umbrella. Now, if you're using it with a diffusion fabric, it's a little bit different. Because then at that point, right, it's inside. So I've got a diffusion for this deep umbrella as well. But the light fixture is going inside the housing. So in this instance, I'm leaving that reflector off, because then it would stop all that light from bouncing, which is what I want to happen when I'm using the diffusion fabric. So a deep umbrella would be a nice answer if you want to get a parabolic look. The idea of the parabolic is that you can go back and forth. Let's just go ahead and take this off real quick. To focus the light, a true parabolic, if I had one here, I'd show you, allows you to focus the light beam angle. essentially making it a much harder light. So right now, if I'm backed up and I'm utilizing most of the umbrella, right, I'm going to get a softer light. But if I bring this light fixture in closer where I'm not using as much, it's going to get harder. That's kind of what a parabolic does. There's not many companies that make parabolics, but if you've ever worked with one, you'll really like it. It has an arm that is manipulated from the other side that actually allows you to bring the fixture back and forth, as opposed to this kind of, this is an umbrella. These deeps come with a white interior or a silver interior. Do you see how much more shinier this umbrella is, the silver, compared to that 7-footer that we had here just a few minutes ago? The soft silver, can you see that difference? Hot. This one's soft silver, and that's just silver.
So what is that? Is that half a stop or full stop?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the measurements are. The specs are written on our website, but I don't know the exact. I don't necessarily look at it from a stop standpoint. I look at it more from a look, right? It's going to give me a little bit higher contrast than white, but it's not going to give me that real high contrast that this silver does. So if you want a little bit of kick, but not too much, then the soft silver. And we make a variety of soft silver umbrellas in different sizes, 32-inch, 45-inch, 60-inch. The deep umbrellas only come in the 2 flavors, this silver and then just plain white on the inside as well. Umbrellas are ideal for doing groups because they spread the light so wide, right? So if you're doing a group, if you're doing family portraits, if you're doing team sports and things of that nature, umbrellas are your friend because they will spread the light. So you want an umbrella when you're doing that kind of photography. It's not that you couldn't use it for a single portrait, you certainly can. You're just going to have a little bit more wraparound lighting because of the wide spread of the light. And there's lots of photographers that are using strictly umbrellas to do all their portrait work. Again, a little bit more affordable than a softbox, easy to grab for.
Easier to treat.
That's correct. So, but they're very versatile. Like I said, you can do a bounce, you can do a shoot through. Most of the umbrellas that we make, with the exception of the deep and the 7-footers, are that what we call convertible, so that you can take off. What did I do with the black fabric? It's in here. Ah, there it is. That's the one. Have that black removable fabric. We make it in a 32, 45, and 60. So I always tell people, I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to upsell you. It's a couple of dollars more, but you'll thank me because now you have the ability to shoot through or bounce. And it's nice to be able to have that versatility, you know. I think the difference between like a shoot-through white 32-inch is like, I don't know, it's like $19 and it's like $27 for the convertible one. It's like, having that flexibility is kind of nice to have, actually. Any questions on umbrellas? No? All right. How are we doing? We're good? We're good. All right. Okay, let's talk soft boxes. So I brought a variety of soft boxes. I don't have all my soft boxes with me because we make a lot, but I brought some of the ones that are pretty common. Let's see. Is that that's the 2x3. And this is where we'll, oh, she left. We'll wait on the discussion of. So like I said earlier, we had rod-based soft boxes. Then at some point in time, the company introduced into the market the rapid box. And that really changed the trajectory of the company because at the time, nobody had anything like this on the marketplace. In fact, and I don't have any Apollos to show you. You can see Apollos on our website or in the catalogs. The Apollo series of soft boxes that we make were the predecessor to this particular design, essentially a soft box built on an umbrella frame. So it opens and closes like an umbrella, but it turns into a soft box instead. That's called the Apollo series. This was the natural evolution after that. And so what you've got here is you've got a set of ribs connected by this little donut here in the middle. There's a shaft, and it just simply goes back into that, and now I've got a 26-inch octabox. The thing about soft boxes is it gives you a little bit more control on the direction of light. This is ideal for portrait work, where you want to be very specific about lighting patterns. So whether you're doing things like Rembrandt lighting or broad lighting or short lighting or loop lighting, it's a lot easier to achieve with a softbox than it is with an umbrella because of the fact that you've got more control over the direction of light. So let's put this guy on here to the 60, and you guys can take a look at that. So that's the 26-inch rapid box, and then it does come with diffusion. Now, photographers are like economists. You could put 10 in a room and they'll tell you all 10 different things about how to do things. And that's respectable because there's a lot of different ways to go about this sort of thing. Some people like the harder light without the diffusion, but when you're using a softbox, unlike an umbrella, it's always where the light is shooting through the box. So what light loss you have is based on the diffusion fabric. Most of the manufacturers on the marketplace have a one-stop diffusion fabric, just like us. So that means when I put this on here, I'm losing one stop. Yes, I'm diffusing the light, but you have to remember that you're losing that stop of light. Now, no big deal, right? Because you're going to probably meter the light with the diffusion fabric on. So it's not like you're not going to do that.
Do some soft boxes have a baffle inside?
That's correct. I'm going to show you one here in a minute, and then we're going to talk about the beauty dish. This is really shallow, as you can see, right? It's not very, it's probably about a little over a foot in depth. So there is no internal baffle for this. This is just a single diffusion of fabric. The idea of this size is for portability, as you could probably imagine, right? People doing things like senior photography where they're shooting outdoors on location, moving from spot to spot, single person. This is a nice modifier for that because it keeps it small and it allows you to kind of walk around. But understand that if I were to take a picture of Ed, what are you, about 6 feet? Yeah. All right, we'll say 6. If I were to position the light on Ed, and Ed's like, hey, wait a minute. If I was to position the light, like, say, here, right? Can you look at me for just a second, Ed? Thank you. All right. So if I was to position the light on Ed over here, right, coming down on him, making a little loop lighting pattern, or maybe I wanted a little butterfly and I came above here like that. Look how far the light is right now, above from him. Now, you probably can't see over there, but the folks over here can look down at his feet and realize that he's not getting well lit down there. It's feathering in that respect. So understand the limitation of that modifier. If I'm trying to create a lighting pattern on the face, more than likely because of the size of that box, it's going to get a little bit darker as it goes towards. Now that's not that big a deal. A lot of the times people end up putting vignettes in their portraits in post, right? Because they want you to look at the face. They don't necessarily want you to look at the feet. So that's okay. But you should know that going in, right? Yeah.
So that one, how does it attach? Because it's not, it didn't seem like Velcro and it wasn't a zipper.
This?
Is it
the
magnetic?
diffusion? Mm-hmm. The diffusion actually has a little bit. So this particular one is on the outside. But it does, on every other panel, have a little diffusion, a little hook and loop.
Velcro.
Well, Velcro's a brand, but yes. That's like a photo, that's like saying it's a Xerox, it's a photocopy. Yeah, hook and loop. So there's one on there. Not there, but then over here there's one. So this just kind of stretches over the end of the softbox. And that's just on this particular design. Not all of our softboxes, some of them, the diffusion is on the inside. I'm going to show you one here in a minute. I wanted to start small and work our way big. The cool thing about the Rapid Box switch also is that the light fixture mount, which we refer to as the insert, is removable so that you can put it on different light fixtures. So it makes the box future-proof. So this particular mount, which we call a Westcott mini mount, goes on this L60B, but if I wanted to put it on here, which is a Bowens mount, I would just get the Bowens mount. And now I can affix it, well, I'll do it here because, and now I can affix it to this light. So it's kind of neat, and it's designed for that reason. Let's loosen this. The company makes 14 different light fixture mounts because there's about 14 competitive brands on the marketplace. Well, there's really only 4 competitive brands, but there's still light brands out there, so we make fixtures for all of them. But that's kind of a nice design on that. This is an octabox, right? Because it's got 8 ribs, giving you an octagon shape. And here you have a 2x3. So now you got a 2 foot by 3 foot. Again, the Rapid Box series of boxes are all the same in terms of the way they open and close. They've got the ribs connected to this little donut in the center that simply goes over this shaft. In this case, you guys see this little bungee-like thing? That holds an internal baffle. That internal baffle is a half a stop. So if you want an additional layer of diffusion, it already comes with it. You can put that half stop in the middle and then this full stop on the outside. This way you can get a nice homogeneous, spread of light so that you're not getting a hot spot, because all the soft boxes are designed so that the light sits in the center, right? If the light is sitting in the center, quite naturally that's going to tell you that the hottest spot of light is in the center of the box. So how do you fix that if you want that to be a little bit more spread out? You simply put on that diffusion. Now, if you're short like I am, they conveniently put these zippers on this side so that you can grab in here like that to be able to mount. That becomes more and more important the larger the box becomes. Let's see, do I actually? Yeah, especially like the 1x4. I only brought the 1x3, but. So all of our soft boxes will come with the internal baffle as well as the external baffle so that you can use and get that additional layer of diffusion.
I've seen some also come with like honeycomb.
So grids, a grid, yeah, yep, we're going to get to that. Charles, right? Yeah. Charles. I love it, you guys are all over this. I'm going to have to switch it to a different size because I think I brought the one. I'll show you the grid with the 1x3 when I put the 3 in. But I wanted to show you the 2x3. 2x3 used to be the standard soft box most people bought. And people sometimes get a little bit caught on the shape of the box. And while there are some differences between a 24 by 36 inch softbox and a 36 inch octabox in terms of the way it spreads, probably the biggest difference that most people notice is really the catch light. And so, yes, there's a difference in spread of light. There's also no orientation to an octabox, right? Or a 36 inch. This is actually a beauty dish. This is 36 inches. This is 24 by 36. The orientation of this box will give me a little bit less throw, right, than this. This is going to give me a little bit more wraparound light than this will. The reason I'm talking about this is the 36 inches now become the common softbox size in place of the 2x3. Not just with our company, across
So that's
the industry.
that is the one that's mostly sold. Most
36
people
inch.
use 36.
Yeah, the 36 octa, I'm sorry. I don't have the octa with me. This is a beauty dish, so it's got 16 ribs, giving you a round catch light. If I were to take 8 of them out, then it would be an octa, like the little 26 inch. You know what I mean?
Was it Westcott that Manny Ortiz worked with to get a beauty dish?
That's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the 36 inches become the #1 seller in the Octabox series over the 2 foot by 3 foot. But one of the things about the 2 by 3, and I like to talk about this because one is obviously catch light's going to be different. You're going to see this rectangle in the eye, and that could be something that you like, right? As opposed to say this catch light in the eye. But the other thing too is that you could change the spread of light with this. Because this is rotatable, if I change the rotation of this horizontally, I'm going to spread more light this way. So if I was going to do, say, a headshot of like the 3 folks sitting here, I could easily turn this guy sideways and get a better throw of light with that. So, kind of it's a nice tool. Yes?
Oh, I want that.
The beauty dish.
The Manny
So let's
Ortiz
talk about beauty dishes, because our beauty dishes are based on the rapid box family of opening and closing like a softbox. But they're not like a traditional beauty dish. Traditional beauty dishes do have a deflector plate on the inside, and this one does as well. Let me put it on. It actually goes on underneath. And then this guy just goes over. So part of the beauty dish look is, because the light fixture is here, what's happening is you're forcing the light around. And by doing that, you're not getting a hot spot in the center of the face. Now, most beauty dishes on the marketplace that are based on aluminum, like these reflectors, hard reflectors over there, are way shallower than this. They're typically about half this depth. Yeah, right. And they come in different sizes. You can get different size ones. They make them about this big. They make them about this big. Profoto sells a pretty large one. So does Broncolor. Breezy also makes some big ones. We wanted one that was based on this design, that was portable, because that doesn't break down. Now, I travel everywhere. And you know what I can't do? I cannot put that in any of those cases without denting it. And that's the same problem with traditional beauty dishes. They have to have their own little case. It's kind of like you're carrying an Easter hat, you know? And so our design was based on the Rapid Box series so that it becomes collapsible, but it is a lot deeper than your traditional. So you should know that. Now, that means you're going to get a little bit more control directionally, right? But it's not going to give you kind of that flatter puff of light that you normally would get with standard aluminum beauty dishes.
It doesn't damp.
No, it won't. Yeah.
So how many aluminum beauty dishes do you see that don't have that?
Yeah, well, I mean, almost everything that's aluminum will have a dent, right? I got plenty of dents on all those things. Not so big a deal, but so this is. The beauty dish traditionally also was designed to have a white interior. And when we first launched this product, it came in white only. But there was a huge demand for silver, so we made one with silver. And to this day, we still outsell white 2-to-1. And I think that's just a look. I think we're just kind of in a trend that people like that harder look, that, you know, that specular highlight, that, you know, that edginess. I prefer softer, so I like using the white one. I almost never use the silver one.
Does that come in soft silver?
No, it's just a regular silver. Yes?
Can you balance it out with the diffuser?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that this only comes with one diffusion fabric. It does not come with an interior baffle. Now, what I tell people to get around that is, you see how much Velcro we have on the inside here, the hook and loop? You can put 2 of these. So instead of just using the one, you can just put 2 of them in there, right? So you get one over here. There's plenty of hook and loop here still to put a second one in, and that can give you some additional
Or a
diffusion
grid.
fabric. Huh?
Can you use a grid on that?
Of course, we make grids for everything. Every softbox we make a grid for. Right, yep. And I'm going to show you a grid with the 1x3. The Octabox version of the 36-inch, right, the one that is this shape but this size, does have an interior baffle it comes with. So you'll see those little flexible cords with the buttons on it, and it comes with an interior and an exterior. Let's show you. So we make 26-inch, 36-inch, 48-inch octas. We make strip banks. This is a strip bank. This is a 1x3. Again, based on the same design. It's nice and easy to open and close. But that's a 1x3. We make a 1x2. We make a 1x4. Again, all of these are silver interior. Strip banks are typically used either as a hair light or as a rim light. I was in Toronto, Canada in 1999, and I watched David Meese, Playboy photographer, use this as a key light. And I remember thinking, I went to school, we always used this as a hair light or as a rim light. He was using it as a key light. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm interested to see what that looks like.
Couldn't you also use that for the feet if you're trying to light the feet?
You could use it as a kicker light, yeah. I mean, typically speaking, if I want to make sure that I'm lit head to toe, I'm going to use a modifier that gives me that spread. I'm not going to use a second light to bring that in.
What if you don't have a modifier?
Then you certainly can. Certainly, right? That's what kicker lights are for. That's what fill lights are for in the first place.
Or reflectors.
Certainly. That's right.
See Robert.
That's right. And so we do make grids for every single softbox, and this is very similar to that of the honeycomb grid, only it's a flexible fabric and does the same thing. Most of the softboxes, again, they spread the light at about 104 degrees, right? Giving you more control than an umbrella, which is 140. And all of our grids are 40-degree grids. So you're taking the spill from 104 to 40 degrees, 40 degrees. And these are also hook and loop, and so all you do is leave a little extra space on that Velcro here on the inside so that you can mount them like that. Grids are one of these things, again, I could line up 10 photographers in here. I can get half of them will say, oh, I never use grids. And then another half will be like, oh, I use grids exclusively. Well, I'm not an exclusive grid guy, but I like using grids, particularly on my strip bank to reduce that spill. So let's take a look and see what that looks like real quick. What's that?
Use me as a model.
Oh, okay, sure, right
I'm
on.
just as bright.
Actually, should put this on first. Let's put them on the. You know, when I lived in New York, I worked for 2 different studios, and for the first 5 years, I was an assistant in both those studios. They won't let you touch a camera until you can prove your wealth in being able to carry gear, meter light, reload film, and change modifiers on the fly very quickly. So I got pretty good with it. And that was when we were using rod-based softboxes. This has made my life a lot easier. All right, so Bill, can I ask you to join us here? We'll make sure that we're pointed towards the camera. Let's get this guy a little higher. Sorry for blocking you guys. So, I'm lighting, can you, his hair is probably blocking you guys, but can you see that I'm lighting his ear, but I'm not lighting his cheek? Can you see that? Don't move, Bill.
If you wanted to demonstrate a hairline, you should have put something that was less sharp.
You stay where you are. I'm gonna, oops. Let's do that again. All right. So I got the light falling on his ear, but I don't have it falling on his nose. But now I'm gonna take this off. And you can see that, whoops, that I am now lighting not just his nose, but past him. That's the beauty of a grid, is if you want to be more precise about where you're laying down light, the grid is your best friend.
So like if you were shooting bodybuilders in some way, you would want to come across that.
Yeah, so that's a very popular technique. You can have a seat. Thanks, Bill. That's a very popular technique, is to use 2 strip banks for athletes, one on either side with strip banks. And typically somebody will put a small fill light in the front so that it's not in complete darkness. You can see detail in the shadow areas. These lights are equidistant and they have the same amount of power, but they're giving a very strong edge light, and it's important that that light is stronger than the light here, right? Because you want people to kind of see the outline of the athlete. So bodybuilders that are all greased up, or football players, or whatever the story may be. You see it in Gatorade ads, you see it in Nike ads. They do this technique. 2 strip banks either side, and then in front, a fill light. Typically in a butterfly lighting position, which is above.
But softer than the 2 side lights.
Yep, probably 2 stops less than what's going on here.
Yeah, 'cause you're
Just
turning
enough so
them
you have
less-
detail.
Yeah.
Just enough you have detail on the face. They'll typically go with the longer ones. This is a 1x3 softbox. We make a 1x4, so another foot longer. I'm short, so I can get away with 1x3, but if I'm taking pictures of athletes, which are typically taller, I'm gonna go with the 1x4 to get a better spread, so we don't have that feathering that was occurring,
Yeah.
right? So grids are made for all the soft boxes, whether it's a beauty dish, a strip bank, a rectangle, or a...
But they're sold separately, right?
They are sold separately. Yeah, we catch a lot of flack. You might want to kill the camera on this, I'm kidding. We catch a lot of flack because ours are not cheap. You know, even though the price has come down, it's still quite a bit. A lot of companies that manufacture these make them really cheap, where they kind of like sag so that you actually don't see, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one other thing is, if you put it on properly, you should be able to see through each square. So the build quality is better, but it costs a lot more money. So, I don't use a grid for every single box. I use them with the strips because I'm typically using it as a hair light or as a rim light, so I want to be more specific about the light. Sometimes if I'm in a situation where I'm in a really bright room, let's say the psych wall at Precision Camera, right? They got that psych wall, there's a lot of white around. On a key light, I might use one if I don't want light falling on that background, right? Because if I had you and there was a wall where Batman's at right now, right? And I put a light on you here, or in any position, it's probably gonna fall on Batman. Now, if I don't want it to fall on Batman, I put a grid.
So you're not lighting the background?
I'm not lighting the background, so if I want to keep that integrity. Now, another tool that you could use, and I brought them with me, it's a tool that often does not get discussed enough, are flags. Now, you can make flags. Most people will buy like black gator board or something like that, a non-reflective surface. But we make these flags so that they go into grip heads. And admittedly, a lot more cinematographers are buying this type of product over photographers. But photographers can use them and they would enjoy them if they knew what they were doing with them. But if you were in a situation where you were getting spill and you needed to flag something off, that's what a flag is for. Now we have them, they're called fast flags because they kind of come together pretty quickly. They come with a variety of fabrics, everything from diffusion to nets. Nets are black netting that allow a certain amount of light, and then there's duvetine, which is an opaque black fabric. And that black fabric goes over this edge. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, don't worry about getting your gear dirty, guys. Gear gets dirty.
All right, so we'll ask the other question.
Come on.
Fabric washable?
Yes, it is. Duvetine is washable. I recommend that you wash it by itself. Don't put your underwears in the wash with it.
Well, yeah, okay, I have an issue with cat hair.
Yeah, don't put anything in there with it. And so that just kind of terminates to this little pin that would go into a grip head, right, on a stand, and that can flag light, right? Black absorbs light, it doesn't bounce it. So that's another way of flagging. So
That's a pretty big flag, right, outside.
but I have the largest. We make an 18 by 24, and then this is the 24 by 36, 2 foot by 3 foot. So I like the larger flag. Sometimes I wish I had a smaller one, but I typically want a bigger one.
Well, okay, so when I'm using crescent board for the flag, I don't hesitate too much to take out the scissors and make it smaller. Right?
Right.
I mean, if I'm using crescent board for a flag, right, I don't really hesitate too much to take the scissors and make it smaller. I'm not doing that to this thing.
No, you're
know.
not. No, you're not.
It kind of, not only would it not work, it ruins the integrity, but crescent board's cheaper, thanks.
Sure. Yeah, but when you, like any expendable product, right, like paper, you use it, it gets used, it gets ruined, you get rid of it, you buy another one,
Yeah.
so on, and the cycle repeats, right?
So-
Whereas this is something that's designed to be used for many years to come without.
So I guess the other dumb questions are along the lines of, A, how much does one of these kits cost? And B, can you get a replacement get a replacement fabric if you need to?
The 24 by 36 kit, which comes with 2 frames,
Yeah.
one black duvetine, one stop diffusion fabric, and then you've got 2 different black nets. One's a single, one's a double black net.
Yeah.
And the carrying case is $179.
That's not bad. That's
And
not
that's
bad at
for
all.
the 24 by 36. It's
Yeah.
$139 for the 18 by 24.
That's pretty
And yes,
good.
you can get individual components. So if you lose this, you left it somewhere, you can just get the duvetine fabric for the 24
Good.
by 36.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Or if you know somebody who's good with stitching, they can go to Joann Fabrics, get an opaque black thing and make it themselves, I suppose. Did they? Oh. Yes, this end here, it goes into an actual grip head. And then the grip head sits on a stand. So the grip head has, you unloosen it and this slides in, and then you tighten it down, and then that grip head sits on top of all. Yeah. And there's 2 of these in here. So a flag is another way of blocking light where you don't want it to fall. So it's also a modifier, right? The whole category of modifier is modifying light. So this is a light modifier.
Did you bring one of these?
I did not bring the eye lighter. I show that thing everywhere, right, Bill? I show the eye lighter everywhere, and I'm trying to kind of get off of it. I feel like I'm some sort of drug addict. I can't stop using this eye lighter. It's a wonderful tool. I love it for headshots. Everybody loves the way they look in it, but I gotta get away from it for a little while. Because I'm a little too dependent. If you're doing headshots, it's a great tool. Oh, clamshell, sure. So instead of using that eye lighter, he's putting a 1x3 strip back box underneath and creating a second light, clamshell. So he's got one above, one below, called clamshell lighting. That's giving you the same effect, but you're using a bounce fabric as opposed to another light.
the bounce factor would be a softer light in the eye as opposed to,
It can be. It can be. It's also not going to be as strong but you could power down a light. You know what I mean?
or use a reflector as well, no?
You could use a reflector. Larry Peters, who actually invented that, his idea was that because it's a curved reflector, and you guys can see pictures in there, is that we have convex, our eyeballs are convex, right? They're round, they stick out. The eyeliner follows the contour of the eye. So it's a much more pleasing eye, a highlight in the eye, than say, a regular fold-out reflector. Because when you put a round reflector under someone's eyes, it doesn't come out round. It looks a little oval. Whereas that one follows the contour, so it's a very specific look. It also wraps around here, so it thins the face. People love that, so. Another specialty, and I wanted to show you this, and I'm going to show it to you on this guy. And I did want to bring this new boom arm so you guys could see. Is this it? No, this isn't it. Sorry. This is not the one. There it is. A lantern. This will be the last modifier I show you for now. A lantern is an omnidirectional light. Traditionally in the video community, they call it a China ball. And just to kind of give you an idea of how this guy comes together, all you do is kind of squeeze it and then latch on here. Whoops. And it creates the frame. I like that perplexed look you got. You're like, what's he got going on?
Yeah, I'm like, how are you gonna use that? Is what
So I'm gonna put this now in here. I just wanted to show you what I was doing in terms of opening and closing it. And so what you've got is a light that allows you to have omnidirection. And so if you're looking to light a space up, and I brought my short C stand, sorry. Let's get this guy out. There you go. Let's bring him over. Let's bring this guy a little bit over. This is the new Easy Boom that has a counterweight system. It comes with either a bag that you can fill with like buckshot, or it comes with this plate that you can put on and a plate on. Anybody go to Academy recently and try to buy buckshot? I did. They don't sell small containers anymore. They only sell a 50-gallon bucket for $200.
Did they offer to
So I went for the $20 weight.
Did they offer to load it for you?
No, right. But this is what this light will do, is that you typically would put it above your surface. You could use this as a hair light if you wanted to, right? But it's giving you omnidirectional light. So if you want to light a space, a lantern is a great thing for that. It's a tool that you'll see more used in the video world than you will use in the still world. But if you need to light a space, the lantern is a nice way to do that. And booming it is an easy way to get it up high. Now, I only have this little 20-inch C-stand, but we could put it on something higher. I'm not going to do that right now because we're limited in time, but you could certainly put it on a traditional boom and go higher, right? Kind of like the way these lamps are hanging above our heads right now. Biggest difference is I can control this light, you know? And I know the quality of the light that's coming out of it. I also know that this light fixture is flicker-free to 4,000 frames a second. So if Ed wanted to do some slow motion of me, he could without getting any kind of flicker. So
Get that light up that high, you control it.
there's an app.
Of course there is.
Is it? Well, I mean, it's one of those things. So we have an app for both our FJ wireless system and all of our LED lights. And there are actual applications that make sense. And in this case, I can reach this light and change the power here. But if I was going to put this where I wanted to, it would probably be out of reach for my head. Well, what if I wanted to change the power or the color temperature? This is a bicolor unit. So if I wanted to change the color of the light and make it a little more warm, I got to go to it. But if I'm flying it up high, that's where the app comes in. I can control the light with the use of the app. Both the intensity of the light as well as the color temperature of the light. So that's another specialty modifier. It comes with a little black dot that hook and loops over. Again, since the source of the light is in the middle, the hottest spot is there. If you're concerned about it, you just throw this little thing on there. There's a lot of specialty modifiers. Like I said, I can't bring the Zeppelin with me. I don't have the Zeppelin anymore, but that's parabolic. It's the 59 inches as big as that table there. When it's fully assembled, it's just a monster of a, and it's not everybody has the space for that. But that's the lantern for omnidirectional. This guy sells for 69 bucks. It's 20 inches, and it also is part of that removable mount system, so you can switch out that insert and put it on anything. Alien Bees, Ellen Chrome, Profoto, whatever light fixture you want to add. Godox. So, yes, and then this is the new Easy Boom. So with the counterbalance, wherever you move that light is where it stays.
How much does that cost?
$299. So it's got a twistable head here. I can change that here and put that up high, and it just stays where, which is kind of neat.
So, so the Easy Boom is the whole thing, or is that put on the top of a C-stand?
It's everything except for the light and the C-stand.
Okay.
So it stops here. Is where it stops. But just to give you an idea, this is our mini boom. It's a traditional boom, right? So you have a counterweight, and then you've got these arms that extend out. So if you want to make changes, you loosen it, you move it, right? Whereas with this guy, I just grab it and put it wherever I want, and that's where it stays. So that's kind of where the beauty of it. It's a counterbalance system. Then it comes with this piece, and it comes, like I said, there's a bag that actually connects to the back of here, and you could put shot in it. If you could buy a shot for less than $200. Yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because this is what I decided to do for this guy, and I also got it at Academy. These little half pounds.
Oh, okay.
They belong to an ankle weight thingy, and they sell them in a box. Yeah, and they're half pounds each.
So you can get buckshot in smaller containers
Yes.
at gun stores.
Yes, I know.
Or you can get dive weights. So dive weights are more expensive than that, but won't hurt if it lands on your foot.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I was hoping that, Academy's right up the road, right? I wanted A3 there, so. Yeah, I'll probably have to go to like McBride's or something like that to go get some buckshot, right?
No, go get scuba weights.
Yeah? Better?
It's the same stuff, it's soft weights.
Same stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
Tom's Dive Shop?
Yeah.
Dive shop has them, yeah.
That's where I'll go. Thank you.
You don't care as
I think that's all I have for you. I'm sure there's stuff that I can continue to talk about. Do you guys have any questions? I didn't bring any reflectors with me. I didn't want to get into that, but reflectors that pop out traditionally have an interior that is a 3/4 stop. You could use that quickly as a diffusion fabric if you needed to, but I left a stack of my business cards over there. I am local. I literally live 15 minutes from here. If you guys ever have any questions or want some advice or want to talk anything about lighting, you want my 2 cents. If you want a good recipe for marinara sauce, I make a knockout marinara sauce. Feel free to call me. You'll see on that card there's a 512 number. You should recognize the area code. If you call the 413 number, you will be talking to the fine folks in the office, but I don't live in Ohio, so. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Bill?
Thank you, Ruben.
You're welcome.
Let's close up the video here. Clay's got an announcement
Okay,
on a walk, photo walk.
So we
the
have,
floor is yours.
we have a photo walk. Gary has set it up, and it's at a sign bar. Sign. Carol, you can tell us about it. What will we see at the sign bar on September 29th at 6 p.m.?
It's, they started collecting the old signs from Old Austin. So it's like the, Huts Hamburgers and the Genie Car Wash sign and all that. And it reminded me a little bit of the Neon Museum in Vegas. It's got sort of the old neon signs from Old Austin. And they put it all together, and it's a bar with a food court and some other stuff out there. It's not a huge place. It's not super big, but it's, I don't know. I went the day we went to Elgin when we had that ramble, and I stopped on the way back. It's a little hard to find. It's a little out in the middle of nowhere, but it's very pretty. Funky old Austin stuff, so.
And it's lit at night?
I wasn't there at night. My understanding is some of the signs are lit at night. Many of them don't work. That's why we pushed the time back a little, so we're meeting, I think at 6 it is, right? So that way we have some daylight, and then dusk is like closer to 7, 6:37. So we'll hit dusk there, and then I don't know how friendly they are with tripods. And if 50 people show up, I don't know, it's not a huge place, but we can try and see what they say.
Just one reminder on the Round Rock Art Show at Jester Annex. We're going to open up submissions until next Wednesday night. And by next Wednesday night, it's going to have to be a hard close on submissions because we need time to do the selection and give people time to get the prints done, because if you're selected, you're going to need to come up with a print to go to the gallery for show. I believe that's it, unless someone else has something else. Thank you much.